In progress. No, stay in studio. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello. You should be able to see this on my YouTube channel, Dr. Frida Coaching. And thank you for coming live with us. So, just going to introduce myself and then you can introduce yourself. But hello, welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Frida. I am a certified transformational life and relationship coach, and I am an author, and I am a practitioner of life.
Hello, I am I'm M Dot, Chef M Dot, M Dot Period. I got a few different monikers I go by, but definitely M Dot. I do a little bit of everything when it comes down to culinary cuisine. I take care of that. When we do music, I have a label, Rob Villain Records. Also, I am just a lover of life and a lover of this woman right here. And I thank her very much for having me on today. I really appreciate that.
Yes, yes. Thank you for coming on live with me because, you know, as a life coach and a relationship coach, I always bring you into like my stories and things
Mhm.
like that. And then I talk about, my ex-husband and everything like that. But sometimes people want to see a face with the name. And so, this is his signature shades. So if you're ever so lucky to see him without his shades, count yourself lucky. But yeah, he even cooks with the shades on. So yeah,
Mhm.
I don't get it. But anyway, so we're just gonna jump right into it. We're gonna talk about a little bit about ourselves, like in regards to how we met, how our relationship goes, and our viewpoints on relationships.
Mhm.
Because when I coach people, I always tell people it is subjective to them, right? It is, I'm not here to persuade you to do anything. I'm here to remind you of your own power and what you are able to do and how you are able to show up in a relationship, whether it's romantic, platonic, or whatever. So, just quickly, like how we met.
Mhm.
So we met about 5 years ago, and it's funny because we literally were just talking like the other week, and we was just like, we've been together for like 3 years now, 3 or 4 years, and you was like, no, I think it's been longer than that, and I was like, nah, I ain't. No, it's been about 3 years, and you was like, we've been in California for 3 years, and I was like, oh
Mm.
man, like you're right. That's crazy. That's crazy. But so yeah, we've been together 5 years. And do you want to tell them how we met?
Well, I mean, I guess we can kind of do this in conjunction. We do this together. So we met on Hinge, which is an online dating app, and we matched on a Sunday,
Yeah.
and then we ended up going out on a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and then we kept seeing each other from there on, and including a quick little road trip to
ATL.
ATL
Yeah.
on a Saturday. That was pretty fun.
That was it a Saturday?
It was a Saturday.
Okay. So let me give you the spicy version, okay? Because he was
Yeah.
so modest. Okay, not that
Spicy.
kind of spicy. But anyway, so shout out to my one of my best friends and my stylist, Ava of Girl Goodies.
Mm,
Boom.
mm,
So if you're in the Chicagoland area, check her out, the Girls Locker Room. But she does online styling as well. But anyway, she told me I had moved back to Birmingham, and I was like, I am not gonna meet, you know, no Alabamian, no, no countryman, and I'm from Birmingham. Okay, so don't get just. But she was like, why don't you just go on a dating site and just meet some people? You don't gotta marry the person. Just go out and just just instead of going to work back home, just go out for drinks. And I was just like, oh, okay, so me being me, I researched all the dating sites, like what's the best ones, and Hinge was like the number one. And so I joined Hinge that Sunday. We matched that Sunday. Excuse me. And we had our first date that Tuesday. Now, mind you, I had matched with other people and I had dates lined up. So I had him on Tuesday. I had another date on Thursday, another date on Friday. Okay? We met on Tuesday. And one of my girlfriends, Jun, we went out that Wednesday. Okay, by the way, the date on Tuesday was absolutely amazing. It was a work day, and we literally went out for drinks and for ramen. And we literally shut the ramen place down. They closed like at 2, right? Yeah. So
Something like that.
the
Or
owner
one
was,
maybe.
you knew the owner, and it was her sister's birthday or something, and she was sending us sake shots. Yeah, and we had to go to work. But anyway, so that Wednesday, I had another event with one of my girlfriends, Jun, and we end up still seeing each other across the street because you was in the same area. And then you was like, "Hey, you want to go to this baby shower with me in Atlanta this weekend?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." So it was kind of one of those things that we've been together ever since then, literally.
Yeah.
And that was 5 years ago. So there is no cookie cutter way to date someone. It's just what's applicable to you and your core values, and how you want to show up in that relationship, and how you want your partner to show up in that relationship. So a little bit of backstory. I've had some different type of relationships, and it wasn't all their fault and it wasn't all my fault. Sometimes it just didn't work out. But when I manifested this one, I was very specific. And I wrote a 2-page single space letter to my future partner. And I was very specific. And so when I coach people, I always tell them it's good to know what you don't want, but you need to be very crystal clear on what you do want. And I was very specific all the way down to like the height, the eye color, like how I want him to make me feel, his friends group, everything. I was so specific. And so when I met him, I canceled all the other dates, obviously, because we was kicking it, and I never looked back. So it kind of worked out.
It did.
It worked out a lot, and our families love each other, and everything like that. So just anybody out there, whether you in a relationship or you looking for a relationship or you just want platonic relationships, you always want to start with self first. Know what you like, know what you don't like, and what you're willing to put up with, because we all have boundaries, and we had some hiccups and stuff, and we'll go get into that, which is a great segue now. So I can ask you this: what are some challenges you had um, through personal growth for you to show up in this relationship versus previous relationships?
I mean, the biggest thing is as you grow and as you go through different relationships, you understand what you don't want and what you can't handle and what you don't want to see on a day-to-day basis. That's me. And I tend to shy away from things that don't bring me happiness. And I have this amazing saying, mantra that I use, is I attract what I want and I am what I want. So with that being said, I want to attract love, light, and happiness. And so putting that out there for one is huge. So I am what I want and I attract what I am. And the biggest thing is just understanding where you are in your life. And I'm coming off of a long-term relationship followed by a smaller, like a short-term relationship situation. And it was time for me to get to a point where, okay, what did I love? That's easy, right? Because we always highlight that. We always fantasize that. But the biggest part is what we do not like. because obviously when you're in the heat of the moment, it's easy for you to say those things. You did this and that. I bring this.
Mhm.
But you have to stay in a moment of realness with yourself. Okay, why did you feel this way?
Mhm.
Okay, is it realistic? Okay, of 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 the reason why I do not like what I like. Am I being too much? Okay, or this is just who I am. And the thing is that you don't have to compromise a lot of these things. But some things that you absolutely do have to look past yourself, because in a relationship, it's two people.
Mhm.
It's not this anymore. So you have to find out what is an absolute deal breaker, what's a reasonable deal breaker, and what is something that you can just live with. And I think the biggest thing is going to this situation is that I was absolutely ready to walk away from a situation that I could not see in a favorable way down the road. So that was one of the biggest things. And in doing so and finding these things
Mhm.
had to be my deal breakers or the things that I cannot live with. But I can find a lot of those things with this one.
I think it's interesting you said one thing you said you let go of a previous relationship that you didn't see going the distance. And how can you just talk to, because I'm quite sure men and women face this, especially if you're already in a situation. And I talked about this on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to let go of something that's familiar, even if it's toxic,
Mm.
right? And so how did you decide, or how did you come to that decision where, what, I don't want to continue this relationship, but I know something else is out there better. I don't know who, when, or when it's going to happen, what is going to happen, but I just know where I am is not what I want. How did you make that? Because that's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially because, I'm a type of person I connect.
Mm-hmm.
And the disconnect is always tough for me. A
Mm-hmm.
simple conversation sometimes hard to disconnect because I get caught in some long-winded
Yes, you do.
conversation with some people sometimes. um, but the thing about it is that at that point, I was looking at, okay, do I really want to waste anybody's time? The answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, am I really happy? I mean, there was a lot of happy moments. Don't get me wrong, but was I truly happy, really happy, live with happy? No, I was not. And it was a very tough decision because it was around Christmas time too as well. And that's it wasn't ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but obviously got through the Christmas season because I'm not gonna do that. I'm not that type of person. But the thing is that at some point I had to say say no. You know, because there was no need for me to kind of drag this on any longer. And hopefully, she can appreciate that and respect that
Mm-hmm.
for me not dragging it out any longer than what it should have. Because I
Mm-hmm.
believe longer, it definitely would have hurt more.
Mm-hmm.
There never is a good time. I mean, realistically, there never is. But I do believe there is a right and wrong way of doing it, and I definitely believe face to face is the absolute best way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, because they got to think about it. At the end of the relationship, I know a lot of people like to burn bridges and shit because the problem is that you've lived in a situation where like you let certain instances dictate what that whole relationship was. It wasn't like that because at some point you were infatuated with this person. You
Mm-hmm.
did have intimate times, conversations, and we can't just let that all go because that meant something. And as a person that connects, I definitely respect and appreciate my connections with my partners. And for me to disconnect was definitely tough, but knowing that I had to, that was very mature.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to grow, you must let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure she upgraded, you know, and I know I definitely upgraded as well. But that's what you do when you come out of a relationship. If you do not upgrade to the next step, you know that that's everybody's waste of time.
Yeah. And if you keep on attracting the same person and just in a different suit, then that's going back to self, right? It's not that person, it's the self. And you only attract what you are, right? And so I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And for for challenges for me was the almost the opposite of him because I've had multiple relationships, but not as long as Matt Chef M Dot's relationships, and so I was just used to toxicity. That was
I am what I want. I attract what I am. Right?
and I was, and I've had some great partners. Don't get me wrong. Like, I had some great partners. But me personally, like my toxic traits at the time, because I didn't go through the proper healing from leaving a previous relationship, right? So I would just go to the next one. And so after my divorce, I went through just a year of just like healing and therapy. And then when I moved back to Birmingham from Chicago, I went through just like another year of just like purging. I cut all my hair off and cut all the perm off. And I was like, I just want to be natural. And, I was vegan for a moment. I was just like
Something.
I was searching for something, but I had to be reminded of my own power. And that's what my journal was birthed out of that. And that's why I always tell people you don't have to search yourself. You're not lost. You just need to be reminded. And we forget who we are. We forget our own power. And in that, we start going down these toxic roads and we start mirroring what's inside of us because we have so much clutter that we need to clean up, right? And so, yeah, I had to do a lot of cleaning up because when I met this one, he was just, I remember the first date, he was like, hey, I know you're on your way. I just saved you a parking spot right next to me. So I hung up the phone. I was like, I called one of my best friend, Iva of Girl Goodies. And I was like, I don't trust him. He gonna save me a parking spot. Who does he think he is? You see, like, do you hear? Like, he was being a gentleman, saving me a parking spot in this crowded venue. But my toxic traits at the time was just like, he's out to get me. Something is wrong, right? And so that was some challenges that I had to work through. And thank God that he stood by me to work through because he just kept reassuring me like I'm not going anywhere. You're good. You're safe. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
here to hurt you. And so I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate you. And we have definitely I can honest I relationships in my opinion doesn't have to be hard when you know you're with your partner. The key word is partner. Will it be some challenges? Yes. Like but that's how you grow, right? That's how you overcome them, but you overcome them together. And so the way we overcome things, so I'm gonna talk like if something happened in the moment, I want to talk about it right then. Like I don't want to stew on it. I don't want to think about it. Like I'm hitting it head on. Let's go. Let's talk it out. Let's talk about the feelings. But that's just how I am. But I had to get to that point because I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised to be expressive. I wasn't raised um, to actually tell people how I'm feeling. It was one of those things. Don't let nobody know how you feel. Don't show nobody you cry because that's a form of weakness.
No weakness, man.
No weakness. And so I had to get to this point where I didn't like not speaking or doing the cold shoulder type of thing in relationships because that's but that's what I knew was familiar to me. It was muscle memory, right? Emotional
Mm-hmm.
memory. But it was through just like a lot of purging, self healing, therapy, coaching that I've gotten to that point. So I'm like, let's talk about it now. He's more, I don't want to talk to you. I just don't leave me alone.
Mm.
Like, am I like Am I saying something that's not true?
Well, welcome to our therapy session, everybody, where we air our grievances. Tell me more.
So he likes to stew, and
I call it introspective.
okay, it takes him a while to process
Hmm.
things, and then he likes to come back. You
Think
know,
before you speak.
yeah,
Hmm.
yes, he definitely does, and he lives right up here
Hmm.
in his head, and he definitely thinks. And so I'm like, "Are you okay?" And you be like, "Mm-hmm." And I know, like I can feel it. I can feel it. And but maybe like a day or two later, we'll go on with the next conversation, but he'll come back like a day or two later and be like, I didn't like the way you said, and how you said it. And I'm like, say what? What you talking about? Because I didn't in my brain, I have moved on to the next thing. But I come back because this is my partner. It's not my adversary, right? And if we're building this life together, we have to do it together and not this way because
Hmm.
it's easy to do that way without communication, right? So you have to be completely transparent, even if it's uncomfortable. But I always say too, you have to make sure your partner creates a safe space for you to be vulnerable. Because being vulnerable is tough. It's really tough, especially for a man, You all are taught,
I'm a
not to.
bleeding heart.
Oh gosh. Don't don't believe it. Anyways. Anyway, men are usually socialized to like, you have to be tough and not show emotions and things of that nature. And it's just no, you have to create a vulnerable, safe space where what you say to me is not going beyond this, and we're gonna work through it. We're gonna work through it together.
I mean, that's for anything.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists, Toro, says,
Yeah.
people tend to listen when they see your soul.
Mm.
And doing that is creating a safe space.
Mm.
And I'm definitely taking it back, a few minutes here when you were talking about like saving the spaces and doing all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Thing about it is that we all do what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If there's something like growing up, I'm pretty sure there was a pair of shoes, a piece of candy, some dress or some Gordon Gartrell out there, right, that you needed, and you did everything. It was impossible for the time frame that you needed it. But just like those old movies, you were riding your bicycle up to City Hall at the last minute. I got my money.
What is wrong with you?
But the thing about it is, when you want to do
I
something,
cannot.
you will do something. And in this situation, I wanted this woman, and I wanted the connection that we had, and so I wanted to absolutely set the stage for that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's something that we kept building upon. You
And
know,
still building.
and I mean, cause again, I attracted what I am,
Mm-hmm.
and it was safe. It was fun. I mean, not that many people know about Fela Nicolas Pokuti, which is one of my heroes.
Yes.
Um, and the fact that she knew who he was, and we kind of built on that. Again,
Yeah.
like it's just those connections, and you know, we have connections outside of each other
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it comes down to it with people that we meet, but it's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's those levels of connections
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
that that you have with somebody, and that, I mean, to be honest with you, that lets you know how much you want to invest in that person.
Mm-hmm.
But again, realizing who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you want and what you don't want, you know what to say,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how to ask those questions. And when she says that I like to stew, um, in my mind, I'm not that. I can't get my point across at that moment sometimes without having a huge word salad that doesn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to make sure that when I speak, it's effective
Mm-hmm.
and it's efficient, because I get lost in sauce sometimes when people, you know, word vomit on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that when I say something, it means something.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
know, as an artist, as a hip hop artist, I like to write down my stuff, you know, and I go through so many different drafts and stuff just because there's a certain way I want to put it. And sometimes, what I've been told before, don't do that. Sometimes you just have to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when I stew on things, that what we say, stew on things, is what we're using today. Phrase of the day, stew on things. I, as she pointed out, kind of early on in our relationship, I'm thinking for her,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming
Mm-hmm.
for her,
Mm-hmm.
which means I'm doing everything without her in real input. So it's
Exactly.
like an AI bot version of her, which is not really her.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want that interaction, if I want that growth, if I want that build,
Mm-hmm.
we have to speak, use our words, talk it out. And there, I mean, and we don't really have those instances where you know we go to bed angry. Those type things where we, you know,
No.
have to like slam doors and you know throw stuff at each other.
Oh God.
That never happens
That won't happen.
because again that foundation of like knowing this is safe,
Yeah.
communication, like is key. Like no BS. That stuff actually works. But just using, I may not use the best words all the time, but the fact that I'm using my words
Mm-hmm.
and just getting it out there definitely helps because a lot of times when I'm trying to convey a message to somebody else, I mean, I don't really get heated that often. But if I ever do
Mm-hmm.
get heated, or like if there's just so much going on in my mind, and if I'm trying to say something, she's a great translator for me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like if you're sitting right there and we had an issue, or if you're sitting right there and I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to get out sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I got my editor in chief right here to kind of help me out. So in having those connections with somebody who understands you, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, like twins have like their special language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ergo, this situation right here.
Yeah.
So just kind of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where we started with this conversation, but this is where we ended up.
It's hey, we going with it. We going with
Yeah,
it.
I don't know how I put a button on that one, but
But one thing you said too, you attract what you are.
Mhm.
I want to go back in 2020 when we met. If I didn't do my work prior to meeting him, we wouldn't even cross paths because he would not. He was on a different emotional, mental wavelength than I was. Right. So if I hadn't did the personal work for myself, he wouldn't even have attracted me, and I would not have attracted him. So that's why I always say a relationship always starts with self first, because if you continuously attract the same type of person, it's not the person, is yourself. You have to take a look at that. And so you attract what you are. And that's just, it's a universal law. It's just
Can
what
I
it
jump in
is.
on that right there?
Yes, go ahead.
This is not a soapbox at all. But I do want to make a comment though, because I do have people in my life, you have people in your life, we have people in our lives that seem to be in the same situations over and over again. And it's always that person. And I have to have some conversations with myself and that person that sometimes it's just you. And again, understanding why certain situations haven't panned out in the past is more understanding of who you are. Because when you really have that time to really think
Oh yeah, yeah.
and be by yourself, be by yourself is key. And not being underneath somebody or next to somebody all the time. I think just having that introspective time, like I have, that I stew.
He's
That
the only child too, so he knows how to be alone.
I do know how to be alone,
Yeah,
and I do fear when people cannot be by themselves alone.
I know.
That's scary for me.
That's scary for me too, because I can't. We like our space. It works for us.
But we also don't like
We
space.
well we all but we could be right next to each other and not say anything because we need our space and stuff. But but I like what you said too. When people like keep attracting the same type of person, you got to look at yourself, which is a segue into what do you think is the most important thing from a male perspective for a woman to have when coming to a relationship, and I'll say it
Oh,
what I think for a man to have from a female perspective. From a male perspective, what do you think is the most attractive or what a woman should have coming into a relationship?
I'm just gonna throw a blanket statement. I'm not gonna speak for every man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for a percentage of. But I'm gonna say understanding,
Mm,
because if you really want to create a safe space for somebody,
mm,
and if I tell you what my past was,
mm-hmm.
and if you can separate that from what that was, from what this is,
Mm-hmm.
foundation built.
Okay. Understanding. Okay, so you hear that, ladies? From a male perspective, men find that understanding, that openness, basically, from a female to be attractive. That's what's needed. I agree. I agree. From a female perspective, what we need from a man is transparency, because a lot of people, men and women, do this too, but especially if a man feels like he's not where he wants to be, whether it's mentally, emotionally, financially, whatever, they like to send their representative out. Okay,
Everybody does.
well, everybody does, but everybody does. Don't get me wrong, but men, y'all got this crafted down.
I'm sorry, women don't.
Women do too, but don't get. But men.
YouTube is YouTube tutorials for sure.
Men do not like to be completely trans. Not, I shouldn't say that's a blanket statement.
Mm.
Some people, we talk about from a male perspective, sometimes find it hard to be transparent. But maybe that transparency is not because they don't have that understanding from the person that they're trying to build with. So maybe that's a twofold thing. They don't feel, they don't want to be transparent because they don't feel safe to be completely transparent.
That's funny because what did I just say? What men want?
Yeah, understanding. And also, too, just, and the transparency goes into communication, because if you don't communicate, like what you said earlier, you would have these conversations in your head about something that you think that I would say, and I'm not the average person. Like, the way I respond to things is completely just like, okay, what where did that come from? Because you can't assume what that person would say. You're not telepathic, and even if you were, it's still unfair because you're making that decision for that person. So, communication and transparency is very key from what a woman is looking for from a man in most cases.
Speaking of, you mind if I take this wheel and I drive it right now?
You see what
Because
I got to deal with?
I think what's very important about transparency and of course me understanding. I don't mean to do air quotes as that, but it's not my words. It's words of a woman. And the thing about it is that these two things definitely in a Venn diagram, these things definitely like they do overlap. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But in order to get that Venn diagram situation happening, is that we need to. Gosh, I hate to use this because mm, mm. But you need to label the situation,
Mm.
understand the situation, because if it's a situationship,
Well,
that's
that's
what it
different.
is.
That's different.
If
Yeah.
it's a relationship, it's what it is.
Yeah.
If we're not on the same page, it's what it is.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times, especially on these dating apps, you meet somebody, and
Oh, yeah.
then one person is obviously not on the same page as the other person, and that's how you end up,
Yeah.
ghosting. And you know that transparency thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially like I know I wanted to keep going with the situation, but if I didn't want to go with the situation, obviously at some point I would have to say this is what it is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go down a spiral because that's what a lot of things are nowadays.
Oh my gosh, yes. And people are assumptive, and people don't want to talk about it. I just don't understand how you. I don't know. I guess for me, when any first relation, like first date, I have certain questions that I ask because I
Mm.
need to know. I don't want to waste your time. Don't waste mine, right? And
Yeah.
I ask you the same questions, right? Like, when is your birthday? Because I know who I'm compatible with. Okay. And then I ask, like, do you have a passport or something? Like, oh no, did you want kids?
Mhm.
Did you want kids? And I think later on, they're like, did Did you like traveling and things of that nature? But people, they have a lot of surface relationships, and then when something comes to test it, they ready to go their separate ways because they never built that foundation, put that the stake in the ground to say, hey, I'm willing to, I see a future with you and I want to build with you, right? And I'm going to invest in you like you investing in me. Um, but a lot of people have these surface things. It looks cute, it's surface, um, and it just doesn't work out. Trust me, I've had multiple relationships where it didn't go beyond that surface. Um,
I mean, but the thing is, I mean, get a lot of complaints
mhm.
from current partner and
It's
ex
not a lot of
partners when it comes down to is that,
oh yeah,
you know, the opening up, the talking, because things can get surfaced if
yes,
deep conversations do not happen. And if
exactly,
there's no situations, there's no conversations.
exactly.
So if everything's just hunky dory, we're gonna keep it here. Then when something hits the fan,
Hmm.
you know, that's when the whole place burns down.
And then how do you and learn from your partner, like even from yourself, and teach your partner like how do you deal with conflict? You know, the way you deal with conflict is something totally is
Mm.
different how I deal with like I'm heads on. I'm A type. Like we gonna do this right now. I don't have time
Yeah.
to tarry.
and and also too, like again, knowing deal breakers
Yeah.
and what you do and do not like. I'm not a fan of people who cannot hold their stuff together
Oh yes.
in moments of crisis. I need everybody to be calm, and I need you to be poised. And if you do not have poise, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. But again, if we never see those situations, we would never know. But once we know who we're with, we're able to have those conversations.
Wait, I am like, call the rentals, we packing up, we moving, we gotta do this, we gotta go. Man, it's like, wait a minute, what is going on? What is happening? I'm like, we about to fight, we going all the way. Man, it's like, where are we going? Like, what is happening?
Sailing to nowhere is what I call it. Sailing to nowhere.
Like, I'm getting better though.
Yes,
I'm getting
absolutely.
better,
Getting
you
better
know.
all the time.
I am. So,
Always.
what do you think most what do you think the biggest gripe men have when dating?
Mmm. Oh gosh, there's a list of them. I mean, let's just pull it out there first. I mean, all these damn filters. I'm not meeting who I saw. So talk about that representative.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of liars out there. Shout out to Barrington Levy. And the thing is that you already starting on some stuff. Now, there's some dudes out there capping too as well. Lying
Yes.
about status, who they are, what they are, things of that nature. So we both lying.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I say that's definitely one of them.
Okay.
What was the question again? Hold on.
What are something that
Some
that
guys
men just don't like?
just don't like. Talking. Well, I mean, again, a lot of stuff can go both ways, but talking about yourself a lot. The thing about it is that you know I'm a natural salesperson. Come from the school of sales. I come from that give, take. So you give information, you give something else, and then so basically you have the right or you have the not responsibility, but you have not the respect. I can't even think right now when it comes to it. But basically, you can actually ask for that thing in return because you've given something to get something in return. So the point is that if you don't see that in the beginning, if you just see a whole bunch of take,
Yeah.
that's unattractive.
That's a red
Unless
flag.
my love language is emptying my damn wallet or giving you absolutely everything and emptying my cup. If that's an absolute turn on for me, oh baby, it's gonna work.
Mm-mm.
But that's not the majority of people. You're gonna have to refill a cup.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go empty because that means I got to go somewhere else to get filled.
Exactly.
So we have to kind of help each other. And so there's a lot of telltale things that guys see
Mm.
in the beginning, like as far as effort. You know what I mean? It doesn't
Mm.
have to be. Dude doesn't always have to text first.
Mm.
And the whole you looking thirsty if you text, nah,
Yeah,
that
those
ain't
the
it.
internal dialogue.
Again, you thinking for somebody else.
Exactly.
And the thing about it is that he may have really needed that text,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or she may have really needed that text.
Yeah.
Um, and you got to be outside yourself because if you really want something, you will get something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want a certain type of thing and that other person doesn't bring that certain type of thing, you should see it and you should know it. But a lot of times we don't because we're in it
Mm-hmm.
and we don't really respect and listen to other people's what do you call them, their thoughts or
Mm.
their opinions
Mm.
because we think that something is not, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is,
And we don't want it to
and
be.
we don't want it to be. So if you are putting out there, if you like Frida always says, you treat people
You teach
you teach people
people.
how to treat you.
You sure do.
And so if you are giving these, this is how I want it to be, this is how you treat this and that, and they're not even, matching that or picking up the cues, they don't want to put in the effort. So, but again, it does take, uh, well, maturity for one,
Mm-hmm.
not to get upset, and it does take emotional
Intelligence.
intelligence to understand what that is and what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a teachable moment or is it a
Deal breaker.
deal breaker?
It's up to you, and that's why relationships is so subjective.
Hmm.
Because, and I always, I tell people like, when you telling your friends and your family what's going on in your relationship, you're inviting them in, and it might just been an argument for you and your partner. It could have been a teachable moment, but now you done got the whole troops rallied up, and now you decide to stay, and now everybody mad at you. Like, no, it's between you and your partner. That's it. And ultimately, it's your decision what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with. And that's a good segue into our event that's going to be held on Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And it's called Booed Up with the Purpose, how becoming the one to attract the one. And we're gonna continue these conversations with three amazing women. And I will have the flyer and the link is in the on my website as well. If you want to sign up, it's a free masterclass, a free event, and we're just going to come to you. We're going to talk about red flags. We're going to talk about deal breakers, setting boundaries, and honestly doing that self purging so you can mirror exactly what you want. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be with that person of whoever you desire. And so you don't have to do all these tricks and wheels and deals. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, but you have to do the work first. And so it's a great masterclass. Like I said, it's free. You can go to my website, www.thedrfrida.com, and go to events, and you can look it up there. You can also find it on my social media. The links are in the bio. And before anybody get off this live, everybody should be subscribed to my channel. Are you subscribed to the channel?
I am.
Okay. I know he is because I'm on his premium and I see every time I post. So everybody hit the subscribe and then do the little bell because I post every week. This past week I didn't post because I was celebrating my birthday because this guy did the absolute most, and I'm so excited. He rolled out the red carpet from, oh my gosh, caviar and wine tasting, mud baths, massages, wine tasting in Napa, everything. So, but again, my partner knows exactly what I love. Now his birthday gonna be totally different because my partner likes completely different
We
things.
love each other, but not the same thing.
Not at all. Not at all. So, um, but yeah, any final words or advice you would like to leave um, people here?
Lead with love,
Mm,
and just know that it will happen.
mm,
Whatever that it is, it will, because it has to.
hmm. As a manifester. I love that because we're always manifesting. Now, if it's what you want to manifest, that's different. Okay. I always tell people, I ask them, what's the first thing you do when you first wake up? Like if you run into your phone and you run to social media, you already setting the tone for your day. I know you be saying I be sleep, I be listening to my meditation music. But anyway, um, because we in a society where we comparing each other, right? Take a beat and just offer gratitude to whoever you worship, and just take a deep breath and just offer gratitude before you even start that day, before you check your emails, before you get on social media, because you're creating um, this this lifestyle that you probably don't even want or like. And if you want to change something, you have to be the first person to change. So I love that you leave when you say leave with love,
Lead with love.
lead with love, because there's only two emotions. It's fear and it's love. And from love you have honesty and transparency and
Passion,
joy, passion and peace. And with fear you get jealousy, anger, discord,
cowardice.
cowardice. Yes, it's everything that you may not want to embody. So if you want to embody that loving, fulfilling relationship, then you have to be that first. If you don't take nothing else from this, you have to be that of what you want to attract.
It starts with you.
That's it. So again, go to my link on my website or in my bio, in on Instagram. It's on TikTok, Snapchat. It's everywhere. It's on X. It's everywhere. And sign up. It is free. We're gonna have a DJ there. DJ Unlimited. Whoop whoop.
No limits.
She's gonna be there, doing some music for us because our master classes is fun, it's engaging, but you're gonna learn and you're gonna be able to walk away with some things too. So if you sign up, you also receive a free gift from me as well. I will not say it right now because you have to be there to get it.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Anything else, Chef M. Dot? Oh, speaking of Chef M. Dot, he also travels, and so if you're not in the Bay Area, he also travels. I'm doing a plug for you and
Oh
everything,
gosh.
but yes, he does infused and uninfused meals. And you can find him on M. Dot. That's MDOT. M. Dot on IG, right?
Yeah, M. Dot period.
M. Dot period on Instagram.
New
So
website coming out soon with the
yes.
rebrand. So very excited about that.
Yes, yes. So again, thank you all for joining our live. I think this is cute. You want to do this again one day?
We'll see how the people feel.
Okay. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and go and register for their free masterclass this Thursday. There is no reason why everybody should not be on that masterclass. Even if you have a relationship, we will also talk about ways how to strengthen that bond, an unbreakable bond. 'Cause I tell people, if somebody took your man or took your woman, that was never yours to begin with. You can't take something that ain't yours. It's just not. It is what it is, right? So, but yes, we're gonna talk about everything. So sign up again. It's free. If you also go to my website, you will also be able to download a free um, uh, I think it's a 14-step guide on how to heal and rebuild your heart. Again, this is something that I've personally done myself. I'm a big proponent of you have to learn how to encourage yourself because your coach, your therapist, and your friends may not always be there. Okay, you have to learn how to have the internal dialogue with yourself to pull you out of some things, right? So go and download that, and then also on my website you'll be able to join my Love Lounge, and it's just a community. It's a free community that I host, and we will have private master classes and sessions just for people in the Love Lounge because that's what we are. We embody love and we spread love. So, with that said, I am Dr. Frida,
I'm M. Dot.
and thank you for tuning in on our live. And I will see you all on Thursday. Talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.